Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to APPA, PCAPPA, and BayAPPA 2017. And thank you. Annual meeting and expedition. I am Ruth Ann Manlett, APPA's Vice President for Professional Development. And just like you heard, what I'd like to do is let's give ourselves a round of applause and create some excitement. Woo! So like I said at the welcome breakfast, we have an exciting 2.5 days planned for you. We're offering nearly 60 educational facility breakout sessions, and we have an interactive exhibit hall, which is actually right next door. So make sure you visit that. Let me mention a few words about APPA, PCAPPA, BayAPPA 2017 Planning Committee. Now they did an outstanding job bringing you a great venue this week here in San Francisco. They looked at a ton of presentations. So this week, what we're going to do is we're also going to make sure that we take careful aim when we're looking at the information that we're talking about to make sure that it's relevant to all of you, to all of our diverse members, to our 4-year and 2nd-year colleges, to our K through 12 member schools, to our museums and our libraries. Let's give our planning committee and our professional development committee one more round of applause. So, those of you that come all the time know this, but for your first timers, each year our annual conference serves as a platform for a dialogue for all of us to talk about our challenges and our critical issues. It gives us an opportunity to get together here in San Francisco to build a consensus and to define our path forward. During the next 2.5 days, our general sessions will do that with much more. So please get involved, share your opinions. Before we begin today's plenary session, I would like to invite to the podium Kelly Baxley from Siemens Building Technology, one of APPA, PCAPPA, BayAPPA 2017 visionary sponsors. Kelly.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Well, good morning, everybody. San Francisco, California. The Golden Gate Bridge. Pier 39, Fisherman's Wharf, City by the Bay, The Catch. I'm from Dallas. He actually caught that ball. Still doesn't seem real. Haight-Ashbury, The Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, and only in APPA's way of planning things, they can schedule APPA 2000 during the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. Now, in the spirit of the Summer of the Love, I want everybody to stand up, give your brother and sister a handshake or a hug, and remember, you all were at the Summer of Love. Yeah! Pretty cool stuff, huh? There you go. There you go. There you go. How about that? And the ironic thing that while I was walking around yesterday, I saw a poster, and it was of Janis Joplin. And they had Summer of Love cards. While I'm collecting baseball cards, they were collecting Summer of Love cards. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome APPA members, both internationally and domestic. Thank you, business partners. Without your support, this conference wouldn't happen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome, APPA Executive Board of Directors. Siemens, once again, has given me the pleasure to do the introduction to APPA 2017. Siemens has been a firm supporter and sponsor of APPA for many, many years. I know they've been very strong the last 20, because I haven't missed one in 20 years, and I have made some tremendous friends and business partners because of this organization. Thank you very much on behalf of myself and Siemens. Next, I'd like to introduce to you guys and gals the guy that makes this possible for Siemens. Steve Horberg is sitting right here. Steve, please stand up. Steve is the Global Building Technologies Market Manager for Higher Education. He's proudly served the last several years as a member of the APPA's Professional Development Committee and co-chair of the Drive-In Committee Workshop. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. We invite everybody to come by our booth number 301. This year we've changed things up a little bit. We're going to be having expert speakers doing 15-minute interactive discussions on some of the top topics that hopefully will help you and your staff with the mission of the university to provide 100% student success to all of your customers and everybody that's associated with your university. As we know today, without total student success, nothing's going to happen for many, many more years down the road. So we hope to support that mission. It's my pleasure to introduce to you this morning Mr. John Jensen, an expert on how to present yourself and represent your organization at the highest level. He has helped thousands of professionals and has written 5 books with the subjects of change, perspective, and influence. John provides insight from his own experiences to show the importance of consistent messaging. He emphasizes that organizations such as past clients, Target Corporation, Hunter Douglas, Verizon Wireless, John Mansville, and Quest Communication, to name a few, prosper when there's a consistent understanding of what we do, our culture, and our direction. John hones in on everyone's own purpose and meaning to the organization to highlight their strengths to bring out the best in them. Where does he find inspiration? A product of North Dakota and a resident of Colorado, John is blessed with a family who believes in what he does and gives him the freedom to make it happen. John and his family are consistently searching for new ways to be inspired by their environment and by those they share with it. John has collected many of his thoughts in several critically acclaimed books. One, his most popular, The Essentials of Influence, offers powerful ideas on how to play an essential role in the lives of others. As testament to the effectiveness of his books, they have been printed in 3 languages and has sold tens of thousands of copies in the United States. Ron Spice, Vice President, Customer Education Development, Hunter Douglas Window Fashions. I make John available to everyone who represents Hunter Douglas brand. He takes his talents very seriously. He simply does not miss. Jack O'Connor, Managing Partner, Prestige Real Estate Group. I hired John to speak to our leaders and most recently, our entire company. He blew us away. Now more than ever, we are committed to bringing our best every day. Terry Ford, Vice President of Human Resources and Training, Premier Member, Federal Credit Union. We send our top people to John for 2 reasons. He works hard at helping them find their best, and they return to work determined to make those around them better. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. John Jensen.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you very much. That was pretty good. Really good. Thank you. If I could afford him, I would take him with me. Thank you, Kelly. That was good. So, I don't know, it was probably 6 months ago or something, and you're going to think this is a weird place to start a presentation, but I was at church. And something happened at church. We go to a big, and I do live in Colorado, you're right, and it's a big church, and it's done very well. And there are 2 pastors that at this church. So don't say, oh, this is a spiritual talk. It's not, right? Incidentally, what a horrible seat you got back. How does... okay, that's good. Hello. So we only get essentially fed from these 2 pastors, and there's 20,000 people a week that come to this church, so they do fine. And then I get there one day and it's like, new guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't like new guy because I don't know new guy. Have you ever done like that? Oh, this isn't what I expected, right? So here's what I'm thinking. New guy, you got 5 minutes for me to figure out if this is going to be good or not, or if I'm going to listen to you or not. And if you really think about his job is to stand up there, and if I connect with him, then he can connect me to what he wants to, which I guess in this case is God, right? So he gets up and he starts telling his story, and he tells his story in the first few minutes, and he said, I've been preaching for 30 years, but something happened in the last year that made me question my belief in God. And then I'm saying, okay, I wonder what that was. And then he went on to tell us what that was. He said, in the last year, my father died of cancer, and as a result of that, I questioned my faith in God. And then, so you have to know what I do for a living. I watch people, that's it. And first of all, I'm saying to myself, I believe what he said. But I said, death from cancer, as awful as that is, has to kind of be Pastor 101. I mean, this couldn't be the first time that he ever came up with, that he ever experienced this. So I sat back and I leaned back, and then I think that's the point of the story, is that I didn't lean forward, I leaned back, and I said, I don't believe you. I believe that something happened to him in the last year that made him question his faith. But I don't believe that was it. And so you say, well, what did he talk about for the next 55 minutes? I don't know. I'm not sure. Because he had his time, he got me hooked, I was very interested, and I think if there was an A, B, and a C talk that he could have given, he gave the C talk, but I really wanted the A talk, and then he left, and I just wondered why. My entire job is just this. What do people do? What do professional people do that allow us to lean, towards you and be in a position to receive you instead of back away and resisting you? And my title of my talk this morning is The Clarity Imperative, because I think we should be clear on a number of things. Let's be clear on who we are. Second thing is be clear on what it is that we do, and let's be clear on our ability to create movement in people. And if we can do those things, I think that we'd be great. So I don't think it's the typical talk. Some of you might say, oh my God, he doesn't have slides, he couldn't possibly be any good. And maybe that's true, but because I don't have slides. My notes are a little scattered, but this is it. And you're saying, oh my God, he can't be a really good speaker because he uses notes. Well, I have to, because there's some things I really want to say, and I don't want to walk out of here and go, oh my gosh, I wish I would have said that. But I'm telling you that I'm nervous a little bit. I hung out with this group before, 8 years ago, probably been a while, too long. And I love this group, and I love the leadership. And I thought I need to get this thing right? Because I've been gone for a while, and they should have said, well, he must be better by now. Somehow. But let me just start with this. I asked people a question. So I have this facility in Colorado, and people come to me quite a bit. Lots of lights and cameras and plasmas, and I just look at people, and I watch leaders. Again, just looking at them, what am I into and what aren't I into? And what I tell people is, this is the place that you're going to run smack dab into the truth. And it's probably going to hurt, but I'm not here just to make, oh, you're so great, my God, you're so great, you're so great. It's like, oh, I'm not into it, or I am, whatever's working. But I ask people the first question: what's most important to you in business, in your job? Would you rather be liked, believed, or taken seriously? And the answer is totally up to you. I'm never here to tell you, what's the right answer. But if you said, I really need to be liked, just know that liked gets stepped on. That nice is very easy to say no to. And if that's what you want to do, especially in a leadership capacity, that you're going to get hurt. It's going to hurt. The second one is believe. And a lot of people, I just want to be believed. Well, just because I believe you doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be influenced by you. Just because I believe you doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to act on what it is that you need me to act on. But the last one, to be taken seriously, to be found credible. From the second that you walk into the room, you say, oh my God, there he is. It's Kelly. He's the one that did this, or he's the one that, he's that guy, right? That's what you want to do. How do we enhance your presence? And I believe we enhance our presence through credibility. And, you know, especially for men, and they'll come into my, to my facility and they'll say, I need to be more credible, and they'll start to tell me all the great things that they've done. It's not right. The minute you tell me how good you are is the minute I'll start walking away from you. And it's been said about men that our greatest attribute lies in our ability to show our vulnerability. Tell me what life has taught you, and I'll listen to you for hours. But yet it's like, oh, if I need to establish credibility, I should tell you what I've done. That doesn't necessarily work that way. And the flip side is I deal with a lot of women. And women, and I'm just saying this, well, I'm going to go to exclude Lander here. But I usually say stronger, faster. Just more decisive, more definite. And I'm generalizing right now, and I would have to look at at anybody, but just to say that is that again, our job is to get people to respond to us. So what I want to do is talk about credibility just for a second. So I just started, when I was thinking about this group, I just started writing a bunch of stuff down. So if I read some, great, and if not, that's fine too. I said, but there's going to come a time in our lives when we have something to say. And I don't know when it's going to be. And I don't know what it is that you're going to have to say. And maybe it has to do with work, and maybe it doesn't have to do with work. But the question is, when it comes time for you to have something to say, how many people are going to be surrounding you and actually want to hear? Did you live the kind of life that's going to attract so many people that when that day comes, when you have a message, are they going to be there for it, or is it just going to be a really sparse crowd? So to be credible and to live our life a certain way is leading up to that day when we do have something to say. So when you have something to say, I mean, it could be an idea, an initiative, a cause. When you're being considered for something, whether it be a promotion or a project, when you need help, when you're being questioned, when somebody's questioning your heart. When someone says, do you really feel that way? Is it really important? When you need, the one thing, which is the benefit of the doubt, when you need somebody to have your back, are they going to be there to do it? But that day will come when you have something today, and you're going to need some help and support. And then I'm going to say this, and this is about credibility. Winston Churchill said this. He said, "You have enemies." He's like, "Good." He said, "It means you stand for something, right?" He said, when you're credible, and this isn't him, this is what I wrote the other day. He said, when you're credible, they laugh at your jokes. They listen when you talk. They'll give you time, and they'll give you access, and they'll give you consideration. You get quoted, promoted, and referred. They do what you say. They watch where you walk. They copy what you do, and they'll solicit your opinion, and they'll cultivate your thoughts. And that's all because you're credible, and it's all because you live your life a certain way, and it's all because you've got a kind of presence that's positioned yourself to, at some particular time, someone's going to gather around and say, what you got? What you got? And the question is, at that time, are you ready? But you prepare your whole life for something like that. And if I were to, well, let me do this. I always tell people, I said, this is not about where I want to get you, it's about helping you get to where you want to go. Take your piece of paper, or take the little book, or take something that you may have that you're ready to write notes on right now. And I'm just going to ask you just a very quick question. If we hung out today, and sir, in the second row right there, you're Don, right? You did not want to be a part of this presentation, did you? No, not really. I can see that. But if I get home tonight, back to Denver, and my wife, Michelle, says, hey, tell me about Don, right? And she won't. And it's nothing personal, but she's just not going to. But she said, tell me about Don. And then if we had a brief interaction today, and if I were to describe you, my question to you is, what would you want me to say? In other words, if you could choose the words that other people would use to describe you, what would you want them to say? And I'm not thinking about words you always hear. I'm thinking about what would you love to hear. You know, Kelly, you and I spent a little bit of time together here, then I watched you give an introduction. You know, I'm pretty certain as to how I would describe you. You know, you introduced me to Steve. I think I got a good idea as how I would describe him, but it's all how you present yourself. I want you to write down 3 words that you say, you know what, if I could choose what other people would say about me, I would choose these 3 words. Just write those in the next 60 seconds. I'm comfortable with silence. Thank you for taking that seriously. I don't know what you wrote, and I'm not going to ask you because really it's none of my business. But I think the bigger question that I have is based upon what you wrote. In fact, circle the one that's most important to you. You could say, you know what, I've never heard this before, but if someone ever said this about me and the way I present myself in business, boy, I tell you, I feel like I will have arrived. But the question for you is in terms of how you present yourself, do you have a strategy by which you present yourself to get people to feel a certain way in your presence? You can't use those words and then have create a slogan around them or a marketing campaign, a tagline that said, this is who I am, right? You can't do that. It's a feeling that we get. But my question would be, are your words big enough? I mean, think about, so I've heard these words. What if someone said, you know what, you are so vital to this entire conference. You're essential in your role, that you're certain, that you're a partner, that you're humble, that you're authentic, that you're real, that you're genuine, that you're a professional. If you were accused of being a professional, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Are you thoughtful? I've always thought the word thoughtful was soft. It's like, you said it was thoughtful. Oh, well. And then I thought, my gosh, I would take it any day. If someone ever just said, you know what, you're a very thoughtful guy, I would say, oh my gosh. I don't hear it, by the way. Seldom, ever. That you're selfless, that you're valuable, that you're different, that you're uncommon, that you do things, that you're, how about the business terms? Are you strategic? Are you a visionary? Are you directional? Are you transformational? Do things happen as a result of what you do? Do people gather around looking for your direction? Do they seek your counsel? The answer is, I don't know, but I'm guessing what you're doing right now is changing your words because these are actually good ones. Are you a compelling figure? I love the word compelling because I'm not a dynamic guy, I'm not a passionate guy. People say you're a speaker, right? Are you motivational? I say, well, on a good day. But I don't see that. But I like the word compelling because compelling is it's kind of like interesting. It's a little different, maybe intriguing, but it does cause people to lean towards you and not back away from you. But it's a good word. But do you have a strategy by which you communicate to get people to say that or to feel that way? The answer is, I don't know. But it's worth thinking about. And I'll tell you, when I said that people come and hang out with me and they're going to run smack dab into the truth, I've learned that there is nothing, there's really nothing nothing but that. And I'm just going to read you something else I wrote. But the truth is, they say the truth will set you free, right? The truth fears no question. If authenticity happens to be present in a room, doubt would leave. If I live a life or run a business on the truth, two things happen. I live without fear of getting caught or regret of the stupid things I might say or do. The truth is very easy to defend, and it would actually make your life simpler. And if this talk was truly on clarity, I would say the truth would clear a lot of things up. If I came to you and I said, you know what, I'll tell you one thing about you, you just give it to me straight every time I come in, and I can't ask for anything more than that. But you know what, we don't tell the truth because there's something in us that says we're not enough, we're not big enough, and we're not sexy enough, and we don't have enough. But I can tell you that the biggest change in my business, and I've been on my own about 17 years, was when I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to start living it, and I'm going to start telling it, and I'm just telling you, people don't question it. People come in all the time, and especially, people at a pretty good level, the level that we have in this room today. And the reason that they want to show up and the reason they want to have the conversation is because nobody gives them the truth because they don't dare. Steve, I met you earlier. I'm guessing Kelly doesn't sit and tell you what he feels about you every single day. Or maybe he does. You know what? That Kelly's a different guy. Maybe he might. Treat everyone as though their heart is breaking because it usually is. I was the guy that went through a lot of my life understanding that I've had a pretty good life. And if people said, hey, how's it going, and what's going on? Are you doing okay? And I said, oh my God, I think I've been pretty lucky. I'm pretty blessed, right? And then I got into a conversation one time about brokenness in life, right? It got pretty heavy. And I'm saying, you know what? I'm glad that doesn't apply to me. And the guy just kind of was like, you know what, whatever. He kind of walked away. He sent me a note later on. He sent me a note with 2 columns. One that says, this is what broken people are, and this is what unbroken people are. Right? But me being blessed and unbroken, I go to that column first. And he says, unbroken people are controlling, they're demanding, they're defensive, they're arrogant, and they're prideful. Oh, I'm so blessed. Nothing ever happened to me. You know what? It's not the truth. It doesn't mean I can't feel blessed. What it means is I can't lead with it. Because we're all busted up and we all got stuff going on. I sat in a group the other day, or I was leading a group the other day, and here's what I said. I said, what's the one thing going on in your life right now that's just got to stop? It's just got to stop. And he had a look on his face, and I said, you know what, you don't need to answer that question. And then I just went on. And then I drove home that day, and I said, he needed to answer that question. I needed to know that. I needed to continue with that conversation. Something was going on. But I think everyone in the room was so frightened I was going to ask them the same question. But what's going on in your life right now that's got to stop? But once I know that, now I know you, and now we got something. Right? There's an old saying that says, 2 great talkers will not travel far, especially if you're just talking about nonsense. But if you want to get together and have a good conference, I think you need to look at each other and say, what's going on? No, what's going on? Really? And I think if you were really brave, you would tell people what's happening. But once you knock that thing down, it's all good. But, oh, no, I'm so blessed, right? Things are going so good. You know what it says about broken people? They're humble. They're forgiving, they're compassionate, they'll pick you up. No, they won't pick you up, they'll raise you up and let everybody see how great you are. I want to change teams, right? I want to be with that group. I really do. People respond to that group more than the other, but it's a shift I don't know if that we're willing to make. I just got done with a group This particular group they sell letter jackets, right? And they sell to high schools. And I put them through a couple-day thing that was just like, I shouldn't have. But it was a sales team, and I wanted them, because when they get up and make presentations, I want them to talk about the truth. I want them to talk about something that will really make me look at you differently and not just make some sort of presentation. You know, the presentation is like, yes, right, I'm so good. And I was like, no, I want you to talk about something that means something. So this guy, Travis, he's probably 26 years old. He gets up and he starts talking about something, right? I said, tell me something that really means something to you. And he starts talking about something, and I go, Travis, sit down. He goes, what? I go, it's awful. He goes, I know. I said, try it again. He goes, you know what? Can I do it tomorrow? I said, why? He goes, I want to sleep on it. And you know what was interesting? There's a letter jacket company. They had to earn a letter before they left. That's it. I said, I'm going to give you your letter, but you're going to earn it. And it's amazing how many people stood up, talked about something that was important to them, and had to sit down because it wasn't just important enough. So the next morning, we started at 8 o'clock. Travis walked in at 1 minute to 8 and went right to the front of the room. I said, hey, he says, I got to say this. I said, all right, my main man, you go right ahead. I'll tell you, and it's still fresh. I'm hoping you're finding this mildly interesting, and it actually does. It does have something to do with what I'm saying. You're going, you better pick it up, John. Okay. He said, I'm a golfer, and he said, when I was in high school, he said, our town was famous, or we had gone to the state tournament 12 years in a row. And he said, I was the #1 player on the golf team, and it looked like we were going to go to the state tournament again, and it got to the last day of regionals, and we were right in the hunt. And he goes, I got to the 10th hole, and I'm the #1 golfer, and it looked pretty good, everything I think was good. He said, and I got to the 10th hole, I hooked one out of bounds, and he goes, oh my God, he said, I started getting tight. And then he got up to the tee, and he hooked another one out of bounds, and he said, I'm choking. I'm gagging, right? And he said, it was a really bad hole, and I got a 10, and he said, I kind of limped in that day, and we were all sitting around waiting for my score to get on the board, because now we knew it was close. Do we get to the state tournament or not? Because that's the identity of our small little Texas town. And then there was a big gathering of the coaches. And then they went to the score, his score, which hadn't been put up yet, and they put DQ, which means disqualified. And he said, we didn't make it to the state tournament because I had been disqualified. And I go, interesting. I go, how come? He said, because I didn't have a 10, I had an 11. Huh. I said, all right, I got you. You had a bad hole, and you don't count very well. He goes, you know what? That's what people have thought for the past 5 or 6 years. But he said, that's not why I came up here this morning. He said, I knew I got an 11. He said, I cheated. And everyone in that room was just like, oh my God. He goes, I cheated. I go, Travis, you ever told anyone that before? He said, I've been carrying that around for 6 years. And he goes, that's the biggest thing in my life. He said, I can't go back to that town because I'm a cheater. He goes, they just think I can't count and I had a bad hole. He goes, that's not what happened. I said, you've never told anyone? He goes, never. I go, how do you feel? He said, I feel vulnerable. But I look at the rest of the group and I go, how do you feel? And this young lady stands up. She goes, Travis, you're a star. I said, no, he's not. He's a cheater. She's like, no, he's not. And you know what? He's not. And I think about this, and I think about what we're ready to reveal about ourselves, and it's truly the truth. And if that's what we bring everywhere we go, we have to ask ourselves this: when someone tells us, and you watch, used to watch American Idol or The Voice, now American Ninja Warrior, which is fairly cool. Even Naked and Afraid, which is my family's favorite show. I have young children, so it's fine. So But I mean, you don't fall in love with what they do, you fall in love with their story, and they give you that 30 seconds before, oh, I like her, I don't like him, I cannot stand him, or I like her. So you're not really rooting for the best voice anymore, you're like rooting for the person that you like. But so Travis tells this story, and I asked the group, I said, think about this. What was it that you're so responding to this about? First of all, is he a victim of the story? No, because we don't like a victim. You know, we're always looking for the line. If you want to be the victim in life, you're going to struggle. I'm telling you, you're going to struggle. Was he the hero of his own story? Absolutely not. You can't be the hero of your own story. Because if you are, people have had enough of you. I'm telling you, you can't be the star of your own movie. So think about those two boundaries. You can't go beyond the victim part. You can't go be the hero. But inside the middle, if you've really done it right, lies some relevance and some truth. And then there's this thing called authenticity that just happens to be present. And then people are going to start coming towards you because they say, you know what? You don't have an agenda. I just come to you and you give me the truth. It's a pretty good way to live a life, actually. I'm telling you, I just think about it a lot. If the truth was my standard, you might be saying, John, does that mean you never lie? No. You know, telemarketer calls me up. Are you John Jensen? No. Nope. I think he went to lunch. And we can laugh about that because it's a telemarketer, but if it's truly a standard, can we laugh? Should we laugh? I would say no. If it's truly a standard, there should be accountability and consequence put to it. I mean, there has to be. So what I'm asking you is the words that you put down on this piece of paper, the one that you circled, is it a standard that you want to live up to? Is it something that people will look at you and say, I know who you are that way because you bring it every day. The essence of a brand lies in its consistency, and people are exactly the same thing because you are a brand. You are. But the question is, do they find your brand reliable? Every day you're doing one of two things. You're either polishing it or tarnishing it. You know, if we really want to have clarity on who we are, ask yourself a couple things. How do you look? You know, if I said Kelly is really a professional guy, right? And did you see him up there? You know, he's a better speaker. He outdresses me. He does that. I mean, but is he professional? So just ask yourself. And I always call this the law of personal packaging. Number one, how do you look? And are we going to be truthful about it? Lander told me on the phone, she goes, John, I remember 8 years ago when you put one of our guys in his place because he wore a Hawaiian shirt or something like that. I said, I don't remember that. Who was it? Oh, okay, well, forget it. Well, yeah. I said, I don't really remember that, but I'm sure I did. I mean, it's like, you want to be this, but you're going to wear this. It's like, hey, I'm going to be a serious professional, but I'm going to wear a Tweety Bird tie. You choose, but to me, that's a little bit inconsistent. We fired our first pediatrician because he wore shorts and sneakers. My wife says, oh, I liked him. And I said, well, I didn't because I hold a doctor in high esteem, and I don't think a doctor should wear shorts and sneakers. I just don't. I don't feel like that. There was an old saying, a wise lady said this to her granddaughter. She said, whether or not you're pretty at 16 is luck. She said, you have nothing to do with that. But she went on to say, if you're not beautiful at 66, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Because at 66, you better be classy, filled with grace, distinctive, all of those words. At 66, it's how you carry yourself, right? Whether you're pretty at 16 or not is luck. Who cares? It doesn't matter. So how you look is not about being good looking. A lot of unattractive people are just, have an incredible presence. How do you act? Is there anything about what you're doing that would bug me? Right? No one wears watches anymore, but if we were having a conversation, you started looking at your watch, I would say time is obviously more important to you than I am. That's just what I would say. Or how about our devices, right? The cell phone, it's like we're having a conversation. You know what, just wait 1 second. I'm going to grab this. You just wait. Right? I'm just going to grab this call, but we do it all the time. But what is it saying? You're not as big a deal as this person who's 100 miles away. I have a phone. I just don't use it a bunch. I mean, I know what you're thinking. You know, nobody ever needs an emergency speech. I know, and you got stuff going on, and you should have a device. I probably shouldn't have it. But I don't want people to think that it's more important to me than you might be. And the last one, in law, it's how you look and how you act, but the words that you use. I spend a lot of time looking at people and listening to what they say. Are your words marked? Are they meaningful? Are they measured? You know, are they measured? Low and slow exudes confidence. When you have something to say, are you methodical about getting it done? Are you so clear? It was said about Abraham Lincoln that he had a passion for clarity, never to let words get in the way of his ideas. How great is that? I mean, how great is that? And what if that were said about you? It's like, oh my God, he doesn't say much. I would never want to position you as someone who likes to talk or is a good talker, but someone who has something to say. So all that has to do with this clarity part, the clarity of you. Who do you want to be? And is there anything that you're doing that would be contrary to what it is you're attempting to do? My answer is, I hope not. I hope not. But it's really something that you need to take a look at. So the second thing, number 2, is in what you do. Some people have told me that, John, you make a living asking people one question, what do you do? Because it never ever comes out right. If I said, hey, tell me what you do, you would give me something and I would not like it. And then I would redo it or think about it again. But that's just who I am. It's all a feel. It's all how it hits me, and I think about it and I listen to it. So I'm probably going to take it easy on you with that today, but I'm going to have you write down a sentence right now. And I'm just going to write down. And I understand, you know, facility managers, but I mean, you're all in maybe a little bit different position. But just write down the answer to this. You know, my job, right, is to make sure blank, and finish that sentence. I mean, I got one job, is to make sure, and then finish it. Go. I don't know what you wrote. I don't know how difficult that was. I'm going to tell you what I get from most people. A gentleman came up and said that 8 years ago I gave him a rock. But this is my little bag of gems. They're very, very valuable rocks. You can get them at the airport. But I always ask people, I say, so tell me what you do. My job is to make sure what? And they go, well, I do this, right? Which is, you know, incredibly valuable. And you can start to fill in the blanks here. Yeah, I mean, I do that. And then I also do this, right? Which is pretty amazing. One time, it was unbelievable. You know, I did this. You know, I'm probably not going to do it again for a while. It took a lot of energy. But for the most part, my job is to bring this, and then I also do this, and I do this and this and this. So you've got all this value that makes you valuable. This is what I do. Yes, right? And you've got all this stuff, and you give me a laundry list of gems. And then You leave, now I got to sort through this pile of gems and say, you know, I don't know what the hell he does, actually. I really don't. It's like, oh, gosh, you know. Where a better way to communicate is say, obviously, you know, as a facility manager, I do a lot of things, but I got to tell you the essence of what I do is this. Let me give you an example. And now we're off to the races. See, it's your job to bring clarity to what it is that you do. Not to tell me all the things that you do, but to tell me the essence of what you do so everybody understands it. And then it's also your job to prove it, that you've done it again and again and again and again and again. If you want to develop a presence, oh, there he is. There's my God. There's Kelly. There he comes, right? He's the guy that, because he knows what he does, and he does it all the time. Larry the Cable Guy, right? You know this guy, Get Her Done? Highest grossing comic in our country. I watched an entire biography on him. He goes, I just do one thing. I write good jokes, make people laugh. That's all I do is make people laugh. You know what? He does it pretty well. But he knows that's all he's going to do is just to make people laugh, and he's really good at it, and that's why people flock to see this guy. He's got a real purpose in it, real intentional in what it is that he does. But it's more impressive when we can gain more credibility by saying, oh, well, but I'll, just so you know, I also do this and this and this and this, and that one time this and this and this, and pretty soon it's like, I'm so confused. A few weeks back, I was working with the #1 porcelain tile manufacturer in the country. Porcelain tile is the stuff that they now put on walls and they put on floors of some of the most beautiful buildings. Oh, you know this. What am I? Oh, yeah, let me tell you about tile. Yeah. Yeah, so, hey, my bad, right? But can I continue, right, now that you're done? And I said, well, what business are you in? Oh, we're in the tile business. We do this, we do this, we do this. I go, I don't like it. And one guy stands up. He goes, I'll tell you what I do. He said, I'm in the fashion business. I go, really? He goes, oh, yeah. He said, that stuff that we have goes in some of the most beautiful places in the world. And when someone asks me at a cocktail party, I say, I'm in the fashion business. I said, well, you just gave yourself a raise. He's like, hell yeah. They could charge more for that, right? You know what I'm talking about. I said, I just got done dealing with letter jackets. You know, they're in the decorated jacket business. The jacket itself is not that expensive, but when you start putting the stuff on it, all the chenilles, all the way down the arms and stuff, that stuff add up. You can have $400 in a letter jacket. I said, what business are you in? Oh, we're in the decorated jacket business. Yeah, I guess you are, right? No, we are. We're in the decorated. I know what you say. I said, I don't know. And then it occurs to me one time that they go to schools to sell decorated jackets. And I thought to myself, I said, hey, I think you're in the color business. No, that didn't make any sense. No, I said, I think you're in the color business. Like, what do you mean by that? I said, if you go in to talk to a principal and you lay down a swatch and you say, that's your color. You have a predetermined color for this school. My job, as a partner in this school and or a decorated jacket salesman, my job is to make that color mean something. My job is to make that color matter. My job is to help you make sure that when you go to a game on Friday night, you see a sea of royal blue and white. That when the kids are walking down the hallway, they got it pasted all over them. That you go into the community and people are wearing it because they understand what it is to be an eagle, what it is to be a tiger, what it is to be a dragon, what it is to be what. Your job as a rep is to go in and say, let's determine what it is and what it means to be this. And when they mean something, they'll wear it. Otherwise, they won't. I said, you're in the color business. And they're like, hell yeah, we're in the color business. We love that. But I say, they don't want a vendor coming in selling jackets. They want someone to come in with the same thing they want to do, is just to make this school and to make this color mean something around the community. That's what they want to do. I sat with that same client and had a beer in North Carolina yesterday before I flew here. And they said, where are you going tomorrow? And I was telling them about you guys. They go, oh, sweet. That is so sweet, right? And I said, but yeah, but if I were to stand up in front of this group today and talk to them about what they do, what do you think they do? And one guy says, I'll tell you what they do, and he understands the facility management. But by the way, the high school we were also talking to yesterday had 2,900 kids. The high school campuses now are pretty big. I mean, it's like it's a fairly large undertaking and a really big thing, right? But the guy's looking at me, he says, I'll tell you what they do. He said, these facility managers, he said, because of what they do, he goes, it's the first visible sign, the first visible indication as to whether or not this place has got their shit together or not. I go, you think that's what they do? He goes, that's exactly what they do. He goes, VTW, baby. I go, excuse me, I'm not familiar. He goes, VTW. No, I heard the initials. He goes, and seriously, this is a guy who sells jackets. He goes, everything they do is visible, it's tangible, and it's walk-aroundable. He goes, it's so big into what? And I go, seriously, VTW? He goes, yep. I go, do they know that phrase? He goes, nope. And nobody's taking notes, so you hate it. But I mean, but what I'm saying is people, even in the jacket business, understand your business, and they understand what you do. So this is years ago, and it must have been, I was at one of your executive committee meetings, and I do what I do, which is typically make people just a little bit upset. And I said, if it's okay for me to share this story, I said, and this is all facility managers, and in the room were some logos of some fairly large universities. I said, tell me what you do. And someone said, we have the second largest budget on campus, and we take care of all the buildings. I said, good. Now, tell me what you do. And then another person, I don't know if you heard Bob, but we have the second largest budget on campus, and we take care of all the buildings. I said, I'm kind of getting that, but tell me what you do. And now they're mad. They said, we told you, and you're not listening. I said, no, you told me, but I'm not responding. I don't like it. It's a lot like the looks I'm getting right now. And then one person in the back, he says, I'll tell you what I do. He said, I get this place, this campus looking so good that it allows our coaches to recruit some of the finest talent in this country. He said, that's what I do. I said, I love it. And I love it. He goes, because of what I do, someone else, the teachers are more effective when they're teaching. Someone said, well, the students are learning at a more accelerated rate as to what we're doing in our classrooms right now. And it went on and on and on. But now comes the value proposition. Now comes the emotion, right, into this thing. And now comes your seat at the table. I wanted this talk to be called More Than Your Butt, because I know, it didn't make, no, that's why I didn't. But it's not just having your seat, your butt in a chair at the table, it's being visible. It's understanding to be able to communicate your value proposition. But it's not just being able to communicate your value proposition, it's being able to give examples of when you did it. It's to prove it. It's to provide the evidence that that's exactly what I do. I am, my group, my team is, and does provide the first visible sign that we got our act together. That's my job. And right now you're saying, well, my message is a little bit better than that. Good. Good. But who else knows your message? Does your team? Do you know the old story about two men cracking granite? The reporter walks up to the first guy and he goes, what are you doing? The guy says, I'm cracking granite, $5 an hour, manual labor, get out of my face. The reporter's like, that's harsh. He walks up to the next guy doing the exact same thing. He goes, what are you doing? He said, I'm on a team. We're building a cathedral. Two people doing the exact same job. One has an idea of the big picture. What about your team? Right? What about the table? Do they know what you do? Have you had a chance to articulate it? Have you had a chance to prove it? Are you socializing and communicating the successes that you're having? I'm telling you, they'll take notice. My uncle was a bricklayer. He wasn't just an average bricklayer. He ran a nice company. And his kids started working for his company. My dad used to tell the story that people would come with their kids and they would put up a chair and they would sit and watch my uncle and his kids work. I'm like, well, why would they do that? He said, because they work so hard. He said, they're just laying bricks. He said, but the way they went about their business, he goes, it was so visible. It was so tangible, right? That people just had to take notice. And pretty soon it was like something, right? It's like, whoa, you really made something and you did it in a hurry and it's beautiful. Your job is to make a building and or a facility mean something, to make it matter. I was watching a movie about a guy named Steve Prefontaine. You remember this guy? He's a runner. One of the greatest high school, college runners this country has ever seen. He was recruited, I'm just going to say, by every high school in the country, but I don't even know if that's by every college in the country. And he chose Oregon because I guess that's what runners do. And then in the movie, he got to the college and he's like, oh, I'm going to run the mile. And the coach says, no, you're going to run the 3 mile. And he's like, no, I could have chosen any college I want. I'll be running the mile. And the coach says, you don't understand who I am or how we do things here, but you'll be running the 3 mile. And so this young kid, Steve Prefontaine, is so cocky. He says, you know what, you don't get it. Nobody watches the 3 mile. And the coach, and this is Hollywood, the coach looks at him and he says, you know what, give him a reason to watch it. Yeah, and that's what he did. Nobody pays attention to the facilities or the facilities man. Well, give them a reason to. I think it's your job. If you're not as visible as you want to be, if you don't think you have the seat that you want, then find a way to enhance your presence by understanding your message and going out and doing it every single day. You know what? You give people a pile of rocks and that's what they're going to remember, but you tell them the essence of who you are and what you do, it's unforgettable. And that's what clarity is all about. So, number 3, and then I'll wrap it up. All right? If there's clarity in who you are, like now you have a word that you circle to say, this is what I want people to say about me in my presence, right? I look a certain way, I act a certain way, and I use certain words. Remember Maya Angelou, she said, I might forget what you said, I might forget what you did, but I'll never forget the way you made me feel. It is a feel. When you look at someone for the first time and meet someone for the first time, you're just like, wow, okay, that's pretty buttoned up. And then you listen to him talk up here, and you're like, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. You're welcome. He said thank you, by the way, just in case you wouldn't. But the second one is, if we have clarity around who we are, and then we also have clarity around what we do, and not just do we understand what we do, but we can make it mean something. And then the last thing is we need to have some clarity in terms of the movement that we're going to create, in terms of the influence that we're going to have. If we have all this stuff, like I said, at some particular time in our life, you're going to have something to say. And in terms of influence, a couple things need to happen. There's no way you can influence me unless you know me. In fact, you know what, Lander, I got to give you credit for this, and I will give you credit for a lot of things. And truly, she's one of my favorite people. Unfortunately, she only calls every 7 years. So, but I can't call her because, well, Jensen's looking for business again. No, I can't. It's weird, right? But, when we sat down one time and we were talking, she said, she was telling me about the 4 truths about human emotion, and I'll never forget what you said. And she said, here's the thing about humans. We're all insecure, right? We hate to be dismissed. We love to be appreciated. But we have this need, this genuine need to be understood. I can't be influenced by you unless you know who I am. It's why I was nervous today to give this talk to this people, because I know who you are and I know how important it is for me to get it right. I could have came today and given a speech, but I couldn't. It just didn't seem right. I could give a speech. It's awful. But I thought I needed to have a conversation that was just for you. I really did. So if you walk out of here and go, he's a little unorganized, actually, I'm just going to have to ask you to get over it. But to know me, and for you to do what you do so well, I'm guessing that there's a university president and or a chancellor, and I'm sure there's a number of titles I'm missing right here, but sometimes your job is to understand the university message And to know it so well, and then be able to say, you know what, doctor, let me tell you my piece of what you're trying to do. Let me give you my piece of where you're going. Let me tell you how I am going to contribute to what needs to happen here, because I got to tell you, I'm all in. You want to get a seat at the table? Understand the table. Understand every one of the stakeholders that's at that table and know exactly what they want to do, because you can't influence without. And I'll tell you this, the weird thing. The last time I left an APPA meeting, Suzanne was there, and she got me a car to go back to the airport, which was great. And my driver was named Rick. And I couldn't have told you this story because it happened after the meeting. And so Rick is driving me back to the airport, and I didn't have my phone, right? So I wasn't like, looking around. Rick's looking at me in the rearview mirror, and he's talking to me. He's talking about his kids. He goes, I got some boys. Because I'm in trouble with my oldest son. He's this and this and this and this. And it's a 20-minute ride, and I'm listening, and 10 minutes goes by, and he's still talking about his son. Yeah, but we're struggling with him on this and this and this and this. And I'm just listening, and I'm okay with it. I had a great time with your people. Now I'm just heading back to the airport. And then he says to me, he says, you know what? He goes, but you got 2 boys, you know what I mean? And he goes back on to talk about his son. I said, Rick, I don't remember telling you that I had 2 boys. He goes, you didn't. How'd you know I got 2 boys, Rick? He goes, well, he said, last night, he said, I knew who I was going to pick up, so I looked you up, and I went on your website, I downloaded this book, and I read it, or listened to it, and you were talking about your boys, so I know you got 2 boys. He went on talking about his son. We got to the airport a little early. He pulled over, and we just kept talking about his son. And I'm like, he went through that much trouble? He's not a driver. He's a pro. Do you know if I would have just got in that car and got on my phone and ignored this guy, you know what he would have said? What a fake. What an absolute fake. And he would have a right to do that because that's the truth. But for whatever reason, I didn't, and I just listened, and he needed to talk. The end of the story is that Rick and I are not like great friends and we vacation together. That's not the end of this. But the fact was, I know, you're disappointed. But the fact was, it's like, God, you never know, right? You never know who's paying attention. And you want to be visible in the right way. So if you're going to influence somebody, you got to know me. The second thing is you got to show me something. Everything you do is walk-aroundable. Right? You get a chance to give a tour. A high school principal came in and talked to the group I was speaking to the other day, and she said, you know what, when you're the best salesman is when you come into my office and you say, can you just show me what you got going in the school right now? And she said, I love it, and it separates you from everybody else because you want to know, but you show me you care. You show me you're interested. You show me that you're engaged. And that's what I'm looking for in a partner, anyone, is someone who's totally engaged in what we're trying to do here. Yeah. Show me. I know I've told this story a million times, and I got 4 or 5 minutes. Little girl comes to my door. Right? I'm sleeping on the couch. My kids are gone. My wife is gone. I'm watching football. I'm just in and out. She knocks on the door, and I go there, and she says, hi, my name is Victoria. And I said, hi, Victoria, how are you? And she goes, fine. She goes, did you know that the Homeowners Association is mandating that we stain our mailbox post a certain color? I said, nope, I did not know that. Thank you, though. And then she whips out a laminated sheet of paper that says when the post needs to be stained and exactly what color the stain needs to be. So I'm looking at the piece of paper, and she's right. She's absolutely right. So now I'm staring at her, but it's awkward because I'm like, yes, needs to be stained, got this, got all this. And then I look behind her a little bit, and I see a large bucket of stain and a brush. I say, you going to stain my mailbox post, Victoria? She said, I'd like to. I go, how much are you going to charge me? She goes, it doesn't matter. She's 10 years old, right? What am I going to do now? Shop for quotes, right? I'll get back to you, and if you could put this in writing and perhaps guarantee it. You know what I said? You know, stain that post. Took her 10 minutes. I scraped up $7 to $10, something like that. But you're saying, well, why are we talking about that? She brings to me information which I value. But she also brings me a solution which I value even more. It's been said that when value is clear, price doesn't matter. So ask for a raise, right? As long as you're bringing something of value, what are you bringing to the table? Is it information? Is it a solution? Is it a way for them to accomplish exactly what they want to accomplish? Why? You know them. You just proved it. You know them. Now show them. Show them that you're valuable. You know, that's what influence is. So if we're going to be clear on the direction, know me, show me, then set it off in the right direction. I always tell leaders 3 things need to happen. You need to be able to talk about what you do. You need to be able to talk about your philosophy on how you do it. You need to talk about the culture that you create within your team, right? What does it feel like to be a part of what we're doing? But the last one is you need to talk about direction. Here's where we're taking the facilities. Interestingly enough, it's exactly in line with what's been said here at this table over the years because I've been listening. And if you can make it so crystal clear in terms of the direction, not just to the regular the other stakeholders, but your teams as well, then you're really onto something. Your strategy and direction can be so simple. My little guy was playing football. Awful at football. He was little. He was a backup defensive back, right? But he said, Dad, we're going to the Carnation Bowl, and in Denver for little kid football, that's a big deal. We're going to the Carnation Bowl, Dad. I said I'd be surprised, Ryan, but sure. All right, he goes, Dad, you don't understand, we're going. And they won a game, now they're going to go to the semifinals, which will put them in the final. I go, yeah. He says, we're going to the Carnation Bowl, I'm telling you. He goes, Dad, the team that we're playing to get to the finals, we already beat them 30-0. I go, well, it doesn't mean anything. Dad, do you know that this team only runs 3 plays? I go, I did not know that. He goes, yeah. He goes, it's funny, the coach was laughing about it. I said, yeah, but you know, it was early in the season and all this stuff. And he says, no, Dad. He goes, they only run 3 plays. We're going to the Carnation Bowl. I said, well, congratulations, I guess, but let's wait. So I'll fast forward to the car ride home after the semifinal game, where they had been beaten badly. And I go, hey, Ryan. He's like, what? I go, you were right about something. He's like, what's that? I go, they only ran 3 plays. He goes, yeah. I go, but you know what, Ryan? They sure were good at those 3 plays, weren't they? And I'm just like, wow. He's like, Dad, please don't say. He said, Ryan, they were so good at those 3 plays. They had a whole year to practice them. You couldn't stop them. I said, those 3 plays are awesome. What I'm saying is you just make it simple and you just do it. And you understand that your direction is so simple. And your strategy to get there is so simple. And you can make it just easy, but execute on what you do every time. You know who you are, you know what you do, and you know where this thing is headed, and you can be so clear, in fact, as to how it's going. So I'm going to leave this in the last 40 seconds. Some guy came to me with a presentation one time that I was listening to, and he had an idea, and I said, it's pretty good, I kind of like it, but here's what he said. He said, when the weather changes, his kid had drawn a picture, and he said, when the weather changes, 3 things happen. Animals have 3 choices. And the kid had drawn a picture, and he put it up in his cubicle. He's said, it's been hanging in my cubicle for 20 years. I want to use it for my presentation. I go, well, okay, what is it? He said that they have 3 options, these animals. Number 1, when the weather changes, they can hibernate. Okay, they can just cover up. Or they can adapt to the weather and, just try to, just try to weather the storm and ride it out, right? He said, or they can migrate. Another word for migration is to move. And I said, your kid hung that up on your thing years ago? I go, yeah. I go, I said, screw the animals, right? But the people, isn't that true? Stuff's going to change all the time, everywhere you go. And I think we have 3 choices. We can cover up and just wait for it to go. We can adapt to it and just hope it blows over or get a new administration or get a new table or something like that. Or we can create some movement around it. We can migrate. And I think I feel like your opportunity, if done the right way, just like this pastor that stood up and said, you know what, I didn't quite believe him, but I think you could be that level-headed person, that truth slayer at that table that just lets them know what you feel about it, and they're going to look at you and say, you know what, I believe you because it's the truth. But all of a sudden, if you put something out there that is so relevant, because relevance reduces resistance, it's so relevant, it's so purposeful, and it's so true, and it's so in line with what everybody wants to do, but when the things change, that you lead a direction, you lead a movement, you lead a migration towards something good, towards something worth going toward, it just makes you different. You know, it just makes you different. Mark Twain said this. He said, stay away from people who belittle your ambitions. Small people do it every time. He said, but the great ones, the truly great, make you feel like you too can become great. So what I'm saying, if you talk the truth, if you know who you are, you know what you do, and you can articulate direction in such a way that people can start to walk toward it, then you are great. And you'll take someone to a place that they needed to be, that they want to go, and a place that's certainly better than where they are right now. And that, to me, is something you should be thinking about for the rest of this conference, because I think you can do great things. So with that, thank you for having me and sitting in on this conversation. I'll see you another time. Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.
Stay up here for a second. So, what a terrific, clear, don't leave yet, you guys. Hang on. Come on back. It's not time yet. So, what a terrific, clear session, right? So here's what I learned. You ready? Don't clap yet. Here's what I learned. I'm going to be strong, faster, lander-like, without heels. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Please join me in thanking John one more time for a terrific session. Thank you. Yeah. And to Kelly, on behalf of APPA, PCAPPA, BayAPPA, its officers, its board of directors, and our whole member community, I want to express our appreciation for everything that you do to support us, from the chapters, the regions, here at the APPA level. We truly can't do it without you, along with all of our other business partners. So, just like John said, your planning committee knows you. So I have a question for you. Does anybody know what we did as you came in the front doors to make sure that you felt comfortable as facilities professionals? A raise of hands of anybody that knows what we did. Way in the back room, I think that's Lynn. Stand up, Lynn. What did we do? Excellent. So what she said, if you didn't hear her, is, I don't know if you noticed, but we are very observant professionals. Right by the back door, we had Jack, who has been in our industry for 28 years and is a locksmith, fixing the door. Does that not happen to us every single day? Right? I walked up to him and introduced myself. Lynn walked up to him and introduced himself. He stood there proudly. Isn't it kind of scary when all of a sudden all you people are walking in and he's trying to make sure that the Hilton looks great? That's what we do, right? So tonight about 4 in the morning, I want you guys to feel comfortable, okay? I'll give you a little hint for those of you that are in the room. Make sure you have the nicest jammies on, because I'm pulling the fire alarm. No, just kidding. I'm not. No, I'm not. So please, let's give Jack a round of applause, even though he's not here. All right, so now it's time for the opening of the APPA, PCAPPA, BayAPPA Hall of Resources, which is right next door. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask the current APPA president, Chuck Scott, the PCAPPA president, John Ferris, and the BayAPPA president, Winnie Kofi, to join us at the front door with the cutting of the ribbon. And please come on in, introduce yourself, right? Get to know our business partners, collect their stuff. I left my sunglasses down there, but collect your stuff. And please make it a great day and meet someone new. Have a great week, you guys. Thank you.